All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have part two. Talking with Michael Harris, and we're going to ask a few questions about him. So we talked about him, high school, college. Now we're right here at the tail end of college, Mike. You graduate, you get your degree. What's in the mindset right now? Is it, am I going pro? Am I finna go out and get a job? Like, how does that play a role? I mean, how does everything play in your head? How's everything playing out at this point?
In my mind, it was basketball. Ultimately, I got a degree. I had a sports management managerial studies. I got a little minor. I made sure I got my degree, but ultimately, I wanted to play basketball. Especially with my last year, I started seeing, I can play this game at a high level. We were able to compete against some of the bigger schools, Syracuse, UConn, Stanford, and I was there. Unfortunately, we lost a game that I ended up catching cramps, and it cost us a chance to go to the NCAA tournament. And so in the WAC conference, they only take two teams. They take the winner of the conference tournament and whoever outright wins the conference. And so that game let us basically get one game behind Nevada to outright win the conference. And then I ended up fouling out in the conference tournament. So we didn't get to go. So after that, that was just another drive for me to push myself to take it to the next level. I knew then, hey, look, this is what I want to do. Like it was tearing me up after we lost. We got invited to the NIT. I remember everybody was on the court, and Coach Wilson came in and he told us, and it looked like everybody's going to turn around and launch the damn basketballs at it. Nobody didn't care about no damn NIT, and it wasn't no disrespect to the NIT. It was just all the work we put in, man, and going from literally in the layup line my first year, I could count how many people was in the stands by the time I did 2 layups in the layup line. Like, I mean, you talking about 15, 20, 25 people max, going 6 and 19, and so we put in the work and going to every dorm, sitting in the servery, introducing ourselves with all the students and, going to sitting at different tables and mingling and interacting. And, we weren't supposed to do anything anyway. Basketball is just there. It's a part of college. Football was doing things. Baseball, while I was there, they won the World Series, 3 pitchers in the first round, in the top 10, actually. So, track was always excellent. Cross country was. Tennis, we had twins that were great. Swimming was good. Basketball was just there. Men's basketball, volleyball was okay. So, for me, after losing that, I was like, man, I'm not done. My journey's not done, man. So, I didn't get that chance to showcase myself to the NCAA in the tournament to show myself on a scale to show NBA scouts that, hey, I'm ready to play at this level. And so I knew ultimately after that I had to put in more work so that I could try to get to the next
level. What were some things you did to get to the next level? Like, I know you played in the Fondy. I know you did other things, camps and stuff like that, but what were some of the things you did to make sure you got to the next level?
Man, started out with not really being able to shoot. And I couldn't shoot a jump shot consistently. So the first thing I had to do my senior year, my coach wouldn't let one of our coaches work with me on guard stuff. So he saw him working with me one day and was like, no, that's going to take away from the down low skill set. So I was already with a crutch, like he wouldn't let me work on what I needed to work on to get to the next level. I knew I wasn't a center. So hold on, I finished. I knew I wasn't able to be a center. So I had to work on my game from the next level, and I needed to figure out how to work on ball handling. I got a coach with Sean Respert, who was a top 10 NBA pick when he came from Michigan State. And, and was one of the best shooters to ever play the game before he ended up getting diagnosed with cancer. So, for me to have that, it's like, it's like having a loaded gun and you can't shoot it. So I was already upset. So talking with him and understanding stuff I needed to work on, it started out with making 1,000 shots every day. 1,000. No matter what. No matter if it took me 2,000, 3,000, which is a terrible percentage. In the beginning, that was what happened. I had to stay and I had to learn to shoot. And the only way you're gonna learn at that time is by repetition. You gotta get it memorized. When you steady missing and then you make one, okay, I shot it this way. And then you miss 6 or 7 more and then you make another one. Man, why can't I focus in on this? Like, let me make this. And it was me and the gun. You know, the gun was the best thing because I could put 3, 4 basketballs in there. And besides me bouncing my rebounds everywhere and having to chase it down, once you get good at it, you can get it, you can get 500 shots up in like 30 minutes, real quality shots on the move, working on your stuff. And so for me, first, it was getting the reps to understand how to shoot. And then I started going with not as much and start getting quality shots. It wasn't about high quantity. It was just getting quality shots on the move and stuff like that. And then just training my body. I didn't know anything about weightlifting. So I was just in the gym every day. They're like, dude, like you gotta stop, They know nothing about rest. I'm young. I get mad when I see people talking about guys 22, 23 years old needs days off from playing games. Man, get out of here, man. So it was training two times a day, sometimes 3. And every once in a while take a day of rest. But the summertime was really my preparation. Starting my junior year, I really started putting more time in. Guys would buy into the system with me. Some guys started working, the ones that didn't, I eventually got them on board. And so dedicating myself to realize that this is something that I want to do. And in order to do it and be successful at it, you really, really, really got to put in the work.
So you get to that point, graduate, you put in the work. What was the next thing that happened that got you into the NBA?
Man, first, it was the agent. And so the agent, it's a recruiting process. You go, you decide on who you're going to choose. And ultimately, I decided on Tony Dutt because at the time I had met 3 or 4 agents and they all were talking about what they could do for me or my family. One dude was like, we're going to give you a Mike Harris 33 chain and we're going to get your name put in the headrest, and then another guy told my aunt they were gonna give $1 million insurance policy, and he sent her the little basket with the tricolor popcorn in it with the corn. And so she was excited. And I was like, man, like they're missing it. Like they didn't research me at all. They didn't do, I didn't care for flashy jewelry or nothing like that. I didn't need an Escalade and all that stuff, And so Tony Dutt was the only person that I talked to. And he was like, what do you want to do? I was like, man, I want to get to the NBA. He was like, it's going to take you a couple years because you played out of position. He's like, but I can help you get there. He's like, just work hard and always be ready. And that was all I needed. that was literally that was all I needed because it was straightforward. He didn't ask me for nothing. He didn't ask that I need anything or something like that. And when I got ready to go, the only thing he was like, are you sure you don't need nothing? I was like, man, just you can help me get a PlayStation because I don't have one. So you help me get a PlayStation in a couple games. He was like, that's it? I was like, yeah. So that's what he got me, and that was all I needed. And I paid him back with my first check, and he never asked me for a cent. And it was the respect. He wasn't trying to do anything to that level. And so he took me, helped me get my first job overseas in Ukraine with Donnie Nelson. And then after that, I got back home, and I was at home sleeping. And man, he called me at 4 a.m. and told me to get over to the Woodlands for a workout with a team from Korea. Yeah. As soon as I got there, it was me and 2 Koreans and this other black guy. We worked out for 2 hours. And at the end, we was playing full court 2-on-2. And then we went full court like 1-on-1-on-1. And I won every single game. And when I tell you they needed oxygen pumps at the end. And the Korean coach was like, we want to sign him now. And they was like, man, they want to sign you. I was in better shape than everybody. And that was my thing. Like, no matter what, I'm going to be the hardest worker, And so as soon as they got that, a couple of days later, he was like, man, we got this offer, for 20. And then now we got a chance with an offer from China for the same amount. I was like, okay. So he was like, you want to go try that. And I was like, yeah. He was like, well, they'll take you right now for the same amount. But if you try out for 10 days, they'll bump up another 10 on it. I always live for the challenge. So I got there, I went, man. It was 2-on-2 again, me versus the other import they already had, 7'1" or 7'2" Australian guy. And man, we did a pick and roll on the side. He rolled to the basket. Chinese guy passed it. I turned around, he went to dunk it, and I blocked it on the backboard. And as soon as I blocked it on the backboard, I just saw the boss stand up like a little groupie. It was jumping and clapping, man. And they end up signing me. Literally, I didn't practice no more. I went with them on the road for one game. I was in my sweats. They came in the hotel room and brought me a piece of paper, and I wrote a note that said I wasn't with no other team and gave me everything. And I played that game, and that started my career. My first game, 19 points, 8 rebounds. My first game, we won. The team was in last place, and we ended up winning 8 straight games and moving into the playoffs. And that kind of changed everything for me. From there, I came home and was practicing at Rice. And then the next, when I got back, like a day of practicing with them, the Rockets called me up.
So let me ask you this, because you kind of talked about the finding your agent and everything like that. I want you to give people just kind of insight on how thin of a line it is from somebody actually getting drafted to the NBA and somebody not getting drafted. Can you walk us through the night you was in Houston in your hotel, that whole 9 yards before the draft? What were some of the things that was being said, being reported to your agent for you, and what did you have on the table at that point? Because you were a Texas guy, so both the Texas teams were interested. So can you walk us through that just to give people an idea of kind of it's that quick? You know what I'm saying? One is that just like that.
Man, well, first I would say don't stress yourself out over it because it's just like that. That's what it is. It really is that quick. I heard a lot of chatter, and ultimately with the agent and the recruiting process, it's tough because if agents don't contact you, you have to go try to find the agent. And if you got to go find an agent and they don't contact you, then, it's not as, you're basically not really you feel like you're not being mentioned on the draft board, but in actuality, you still could be. It just depends on how your workouts go. For me, I sat in the room and, it's you sitting there picking with your nails or playing video games, and stuff like that. And you think there's a small chance that you may get picked, obviously with me coming from Rice. And, I felt like my numbers were good, but I also felt like because of the conference at that time and not being able to go to the tournament and perform against some of the other teams, I was kind of a little bit behind. So I wasn't going to have that, maybe not as high. I thought maybe somewhere second round, early possibly. And so sitting there waiting and drinking water and, I did a couple workouts for teams. And so I was like, maybe it'll happen. And then, man, as it started going into that second round, I just got away from it. Turn it off. Like, why do you want to sit here and watch this? Like, even if you get drafted, you get drafted, they're going to call you. So just continue what you're doing. Just go on with your normal life. Don't stress yourself out over that because it could drain you. And if you get picked, great. But if you don't get picked in that first few bunch, you still got to work your way in regardless. It's still not guaranteed. So once I realized that, it was like, okay, well, you didn't get drafted. You was close, possibly. You could have been, if they extended 10 picks, you might have been picked. But you didn't. Right. There's nothing you can do about it. But you're finna go on the same summer league team that everybody else is going on, that those guys that got drafted are going on. And you finna practice with them same guys, and you're going to play in those same games. So if you go and you perform the way you're supposed to perform, ultimately, there's some parts that may get you denied, maybe politically, but If you go play, if that team don't want you, somebody else may. So just go do what you do there.
So correct me if I'm wrong. When you had the opportunity though, before you actually went overseas during this whole draft process, you were supposed to go. You were supposed to go work out with the Rockets one night, and from information that you guys received about possible in the draft, you decided that it'd be in your best interest not to work out. And tell us who was in that workout with you, so we can kind of get an idea of what type of who was supposed to be in the workout with you. Who was it? It was you and one other guy, and we know how that story ended with this guy. So just kind of give us the background on that, because see, for me, that's the thing that gets me the most with the business, is that people will tell you anything for you to make a decision and not worry about how it's going to affect you long term. So just from somebody that I know just went through something like that, can you kind of give us a little insight to that part of it?
Yeah. So my charger, please. So yeah, so for me, man, that workout, that that Rockets one, I was ready to kill it. I was ready to kill the workout, man. I thought I was gonna destroy it. I thought I was gonna really, really do some stuff. And getting that call, I kind of felt like that call was basically saying, hey, it's already solidified. So I left. And I trusted in what was being said and the information. And I listened to that. So I trusted in that. And, unfortunately it didn't work out. And I was disappointed because the guys that were in the workout, man, they had some really good careers. And so I just, I don't want to,
Who did you get the call from? Who's the call from?
Huh?
Who was the call from? What was the other team? What was the other team to call?
Oh, so at that time, in that moment, in that situation, there was a call from Dallas, and I felt as if that at that moment, I felt as if it was a better opportunity. So I had something with Dallas. I ultimately had also a situation after that with Oklahoma City, very similar to that same thing. And it's part of the business. It's something that you really can't control, man. I turn right, this is your life. You turn left, this is your life. You can't harp on it. You know what I mean? Because if you do, you'll dwell about it, and all it's going to do is bring you down.
Absolutely.
Are we being politically correct? Because I think I missed who the player was.
Oh man, John, you can talk about the player. I don't really, man.
We'll leave it like that, man. Because you ain't saying nothing about it, ain't nothing supposed to be said. But
no, I just, it ain't. It's not. The player really don't matter.
I need to scoop after the podcast. Then I need to scoop.
Absolutely.
I gotta tell you something what's going on after
the input.
So Mike,
Eliza, please. Dang, I just asked.
Hey man, you know what you're gonna get on this podcast, man. It's we wild and reckless over here.
Yeah, man, unscripted.
And this is the other shit.
This is definitely the other shit. Definitely.
Hey, when you got, when you grown men, you got kids, you got family, kids come in, grab stuff, you gotta go jump off and grab and do something. Your kid might come in, knock something over, you gotta get up and move real quick. Things happen. I'm sure Mike will be back on in just a second.
Yeah, I think he will. I think
with that question. I'm trying to set him up.
I think he's trying to get his charger. Probably something. Knowing Mike, some probably got 2% charge on it or some shit.
All right, we back after the hiatus, guys. we were talking about Mike going in between, getting ready for the draft and things, and his experience with that, and an unknown NBA player that we won't discuss right now. So when you get to the Rockets, man, what was it like when you get to the Rockets? I mean, I can tell you this: the games that I got to see, man, it was cool because one game you invited us to. I just remember us walking past Slim Thug. Slim Thug had some seats, and I on the Slim Thug seats, and I was like, hey, I can't complain.
Man, that was it's a life changer because ultimately I lived in Houston, but I didn't really explore Houston like that because I didn't, I was kind of in my bubble, so I didn't really, I didn't go out to clubs and stuff until I turned 21. I got to college, I was 17 graduating high school, so I graduated college, and I hadn't even turned 21 yet. I ain't turned 21 till the summer, so going through summer league and then finally taking a drink and learning and, starting to basically become a grown man and become an adult, once I got there and got to the Rockets, for me, it was, put it like this. My first day I was practicing with the Rice Owls. We were in the gym, we was practicing. As soon as practice was over, I got a phone call. Agent called, he said, hey, the Rockets calling you up. I go to the gym at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's me and 5 coaches. That's it. But shoot around. I'm going through every single play. For me, the way I've always been, if you don't know everybody's position on the court, you don't know the play. You don't know the offense, So I went back to the room and I literally just took the little pad that they give you in the hotels, and I was just drawing the plays, trying to see if I could remember everybody's position and what everybody did on them. Got to the gym early, and I started talking to the coaches, trying to see if I could remember the plays. In my mind, I was like, I may not get in, but don't think that way out here mentally. Like, be prepared. If you get in, you better not look stupid, because if you do, you letting them down, and you may get one shot at this. Focused in, got my shots up, got my warm-up in, and, man, I get there. In that first game, it was during the 22-game win streak, and it was against Charlotte Bobcats. And, man, at that time, I mean, everybody's there. The win streak is starting to – it's just starting, and it's starting to be noted, and people are starting to kind of, streaks of gold. People go 8, 10 games, stuff like that, but people are kind of talking about it in Houston. Hey, they on 3-game win streak, 4-game win streak. And, man, when you come out into that arena and, for me, entrances are big. Like, I used to love the Bulls entrance when they came with the music and the lights back in the day. So for me, coming out to a good entrance, like, that's your vibe. And warm up, it's time to dunk and throw it off the glass and get crazy. And so everybody is so relaxed. I get there that day, I'm warming up. I still hadn't seen none of the players. And so after I come off the court, everybody coming on. Mind you, I seen these dudes on TV. I seen a couple of them in Lucas workouts, but I never saw Tracy McGrady in person. Yeah. I never saw Yao Ming in person. So at that time, I come in and it's like, play it cool, like you a fan, but you a player. Respect them, play it cool. So, man, I come in, I see them come in, and they, all dress swag and everything. And, I got my baggy jeans on with my collar shirt, and so they come in and the boys go out there and they warm up and they chill and real relaxed. I see Yao warming up, and mind you, he already at the rim. So his dunk and his layups, so, they similar. And, I see McGrady just real relaxed. So I'm trying to see, am I going too hard right now and warm up? Like, am I overdoing it? Or, do I need to be doing this because I'm probably not going to play? Do I need to get this extra in even though I already worked out before? Man, as soon as that thing starts and they do the entrances, I mean, chills going down my spine. Like, you just feel the tingle and the nervousness and the excitement. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to play, but the fans are so loud. They got the fire shooting in the air. And I mean, you look up and around and it's maxed out, completely packed, man. And I'm at the end of the bench. I'll never forget it, talking with me and Aaron Brooks, shot a couple jokes and kind of looking in and cheering. And then all of a sudden, man, early in the second quarter, they say, Mike. I just see everybody look down to the end of the bench. It was a wake-up call, man. Get in there, man, and shoot. As soon as I get up to the scores table, take out my stuff, I get a delay of game because my jersey not tucked in. And, man, I check in, and palms are sweaty. And it wasn't sweaty like, oh, I'm afraid to be out here. It was, I'm here.
Yeah.
This is the league. I'm here. Mama, grandma, I made it. You know, I'm here. Man, I get out there, first possessions, they come off pick and roll. McGrady throws it. I catch it at the top of the key and freeze. I'm open. I should have shot it, but I took a long pause. So after the pause, I just swung it across. And after the pause, I just swung it across. And so as soon as I swing it, you know, possession go by, ball go out of bounds, and he come over to me, man. He like, yo, I pass you the ball, shoot it. You're not going to shoot it. Go sit down. You only got to tell me that once.
Yeah.
You ain't got to tell me that no more. Man, come off the next pick and roll. Yeah, I'll dive. I'll poppy, pass it, let that thing go, man. My first NBA game, I had 14 and 8, and I was player of the game. And after the game, man, they came and they did the little interview and stuff, and it was kind of surreal for a moment, man. And, you know, they were kind of like, what are you going to do? You know, welcome to the team. Everyone loves to have you here now. And then it didn't really hit me then. It didn't hit me in the back. Everybody's back there with their family and stuff. You know, I'm single. And so, you know, I'm looking around and just kind of seeing how people are with their families and everything. And it still didn't hit me. You know, it's like, hey, I'm here no matter what. So, man, get in the car. You go up the ramp. As you come out, everybody goes out. Some players just keep driving through. But it is packed right there with fans. And I roll down the window, and I'm trying to drive to see if they want an autograph from me or, you know, or am I the dude where they just go look and be like, oh, man, that ain't nobody. They going to go to the next car. But I was like, man, let me see, man. So I roll up, and then I see Shane. I see, you know, McGrady. McGrady just kind of, he got so many. So I know a lot of the guys are so used to it. They're accustomed to it. It happens every day. So maybe sometimes they're like, all right, I'm going to sign a couple and then I'm going to go because I'll be here all night. It's not every day that you get McGrady's signature or Yao Ming's signature. So for them, you sign so much to where it becomes repetitive and you can't even make your full signature. So they probably like, hey, I'm going to sign a few, you know. So, man, I pull out and I'm like, they looking and they recognize everybody's car. So I'm like, they don't recognize mine. So, you know, I roll down the window. First few guys, they kind of looking like, who is that? And then 2 or 3 Asian guys come over and they're like, hey, Mike. And so as I signed theirs, it was almost like, okay, he on the team. He may be something later. So let's just go ahead and get his signature. So maybe he'll do a little something, man. You know, and so, man, I did that. And that right there kind of opened me up to like, all right, you gotta keep pushing yourself to get better. Take all the advice you can, do all the hard work you can, because that right there, that's something that people are gonna take and they're gonna cherish it. You know what I mean? Like those autographs, a lot of people take those things and they make these collections and they keep it. And it's gonna be something that they may pass down to their kids or whatever the case may be. You know, and then I started seeing people with my jersey, and that just made me flip out, man. Like to see somebody wearing your jersey, to spend money and order. Mine ain't a jersey that's in the store. So you can't walk into the Rocket store and purchase a Mike Harris jersey. You got to custom make that thing. So you custom make a jersey for me, man. I got to give you something that I got on me right now. Just it was an appreciation thing, man. So first time seeing a dude with my jersey, man, I just gave the dude my jacket, man. Like, here, man, take it. Let me get a picture with you. Like, I was so grateful, man. It's like, you know, you took the time out to go make this of me. Like, you chose me. You didn't choose the jerseys that's in the store that makes the sales. Hey, I want to create and make my own. I like his energy. I like the way he plays. I like his excitement on the floor. I started seeing people ask me to autograph their headband. I was wearing headbands, man. And that right there really kind of changed it like, hey, look, you here, be here, enjoy it, but be smart and remember this is a business as well.
Yeah.
So we talked about the Rockets and that whole thing, and you take back then it was the D League. So you went overseas, um, first time out. You had a situation with Dallas. You had a situation with Houston. But you was in the D League. You won a couple of championships there, and then at some point in between in the middle of your career, you was with the Rockets on and off, and then you decided you're gonna go overseas and go get the big money, right? Because I mean, it was you made good money in the NBA, but the money overseas was probably double that. So can you talk about living abroad in China, which playing for the Rockets with Yao, people are familiar with you at this point. So talk about how that first deal in China came about. I know you and Yao were y'all had some connections and you ended up going to play
Yeah,
for
Yao
his
talked
team.
to me. He
So
just talked to me directly. He said he's gonna be a owner of a team and wanted to know. He was like, if it don't work out here, would you be interested in playing in China? And I was like, possibly. I was like, man, I love hooping, so I'll definitely want to go back. For me, it wasn't a bad matter of, oh, if the country's terrible. There's no killing going on over there, so I'm okay. I've always been a person. You put me somewhere, I'll figure out how to survive. I grew up on hot link sandwiches. That was my favorite meal. So split that mug in half, put it on a skillet with some peanut butter and jelly on some toast. So I make it work.
that must
And
have peanut butter and jelly. Hell no.
I done
hey,
had
get you some,
jelly, not the
well,
peanut butter.
mostly jelly. I threw peanut butter in there when I was real hungry. Hey, get you some toast, put you some jelly on that toast, split the hot link down the middle, put it on the skillet, man. It'll change your life. So yeah, man, he and a bag of chips, the 25-cent bags. Back then, the mugs was completely full. Now 35 cents get you a 10-cent bag of chips, all air. So yeah, man, yeah. He asked me, and I told him, I said, yeah, if it don't work out, I'll go. And I got over there, and it came to a point to where I didn't want to. I was on the team in the NBA, and I was there, but I was participating. I wasn't playing all the time. Minutes were scattered. Most teams have rotations. If somebody's in foul trouble, I got to be ready and things like that. And it was like, you can continue to do this, but overseas there was more ownership. There was more. I had to be ready every night. And in the NBA at that time, I was a role player, so it was like I was basically saving years of my career instead of really, really enjoying the years of my career when you're at your prime. And so going over there and playing 3 games a week and all the fans cheering every game and every situation matters. And, playing, China plays 12-minute quarters. So, playing 42, 43 minutes and you got to be there and you got to get it done. And, those losses hurt. And then start learning about bonuses and getting the bonuses out the games and stuff. So you really winning to win, but you also got an extra incentive to win. Hey, look, we're gonna come shoot you some extra bread. We need to win this game, and so that right there is just more motivation. Somebody come in there and they bring you a bag full of hundreds, like, hey, this is what we get for we win. Hey, like I was already gonna go all out, but now you got a brother picking up full court the whole game now. Like I can know that I can keep my salary and I can live off bonuses when I come home, and that can cover my expenses. Man, it changed your life. So after I started learning that, it was just, every once in a while, I believe, give a chance and see what's up with the NBA. But when you go across and you can taste it and take that chance, man, you got to take that chance. And
Yes.
So when
that's
you
what changed my career.
So when you went overseas, so you started with the Rockets, and then you ended up going overseas. When did you come back? Because I remember you playing with Utah, correct?
Yep.
So how You went with the Rockets, then you went overseas, then you came back to Utah?
And I came back. So I did that stint going in and out with the Rockets and the Wizards and things like that. And then after I did that, I went overseas. And so made some money, started trying to do some stuff. And then I was like, I'll give it another shot. I'll go to training camp. I'll see what happens. And it wasn't a guaranteed or nothing. I went to training camp. If it don't happen, ultimately going to training camp can boost your success overseas too. It can help you get more money. Hey, this guy just came from NBA training camp. So I went to Utah. I was there. I ended up meeting Karl Malone and Jerry Sloan, and they loved me. And training camp, man, Karl Malone was there. Practice started at 8. Karl Malone was in the gym 2-3 hours early. So I was always early. So I got in the gym one day at 6:30, and this joker already in a full sweat. I was hot. Y'all, you gonna beat me in the gym, man? You know, so I took pride in that and started working with him. And, you know, we started putting in extra work, and Jerry Sloan really liked me. And he wasn't the coach no more. He was a consultant. And so I didn't play in any games the whole preseason. So in my mind, I didn't get a chance to play. I thought, like, you know, I probably won't make it, but I'm here. I'm still the first guy in the gym, last guy to leave every day. Man, the last game we played against Portland, and Aldridge and Lil, they killed us. And so at the end of the game, we down by like 15, I think. And man, they end up putting me in like last 2 or 3 minutes, you know. And so I'm out there, you know, garbage minutes. I stay loose the entire game, every game, timeouts, everything. I've always been that person. Stay up, stay ready. You never know what's gonna happen. Because I had a bad experience in OKC where I could have responded negatively. So, man, they put me in. I end up hitting a 3. Boom. Come back down, we get a stop, hit another 3. Boom. Come back down, get fouled on the and one. Man, now the crowd is shaking, and we're in Boise in the preseason because they got the D-League team there, the Stampede. And so we the home team. Crowd is going crazy now. All of a sudden, we done made a little comeback, man. And then a comeback down, hit another 3. And they end up making like a 2. So they up by like 4, I think. We get a steal and we push it. And the guy on my team, the other rookie, he was trying to make it. He pushing it. And I'm open. And he decides to keep going and takes the shot. And the crowd's like, ah. And so after the game is over, Coach Ty Corbin goes in and he says something about it and let him know, like, yo, I understand you trying to make it and be, you know, but he was like, at the end of the day, it's also about winning. And your teammate got it going. And everybody saw it, you know, but we end up losing that one. And after the game, man, like, we go back and play spades. So get it, me, Lester Hudson, Dominic McGuire, and Justin Holiday. We was all, because we didn't know who was going to make it. And so we all there, and we playing spades in the room. And you know you're going to get up in the morning, you're going to go in the locker room, and you're going to have a note. And that note means go see the trainer, and he's going to take you to the coach, and it's release time. And so for me, I just wanted to go early. I want to go early because I never was a fan of the goodbyes. It's that, oh, man, you know, hey, you know, it's that awkward moment. You come in, you just walked in to get cut, and now you got to walk back through all the players, and everybody see you, AG, you know, keep your head up, you know, everything going to be good, man. And then you got that person that made it. He right there sitting in the locker chilling, kind of like, hey, man, good luck. It's just that awkward moment, man. So I always like, man, look, I'm going to go first, get in, and I'm going to get out. Man, I go in there, and I look on the table, and one of the trainers was from Waxahachie. And so we was talking about, he was the assistant trainer. And, man, I go in there, and he like, man, you from Hillsboro? I'm from Waxahachie. And so we got cool, and I go in, and he's putting everybody's laundry bags in their locker. And so I go around to my locker, and I don't have a note on it. He looked at me, yo, you staying. He's like, congrats, brother. And so, man, I get in there, I go get tape, and I just go in the back, start shooting. You know, I just act like everybody, because now they got to do the same thing that I didn't want to do in front of all the other players. So I just like, man, look, I know that feeling because I've been through it. It's part of the game. It's part of the process, you know, so you grow. And so, man, I let them do their thing, and then he come talk to me. He's like, man, the reason you stay, you're the first guy in the gym, the last guy to leave. Keep that with you everywhere you go. He was like, Jerry Sloan said if he was a coach here, he would have ultimately already signed you to a 3-year deal. He liked you that much. He was like, man, but we're gonna use you in some games, against bigger opponents, against Durant, LeBron, at that time, Sean Marion, and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, appreciate it. And then I kept working, and then, a few games I got to play. I actually led the NBA in free throw percentage that year. One of my teammates from Puerto Rico, he's like, man, you never believe right now who leading the NBA in free throw percentage. Sent me the pitch. I was like, man, get out of here. I missed one free throw. One game I was 8 or 9, and that was against Brooklyn. I missed one free throw that year, the whole first half of the season.
Hey, talk about one of the games I remember watching. You was in Utah and you playing against KD, and it was just the commentary from the people that was calling the game. And one thing that they kept saying was like, "Look at this guy, Michael Harris. He just smiled. Like you can tell that he loved to play the game." And me knowing you personally, like I know how you love the game. And it was just I don't know, man. It was just a good thing to see. Like you was out there hooping against a big time opponent, and you was out there like you was smiling like the whole time. It was almost like, yeah, you're gonna get yours, but I'm gonna make you work for it. And then you at the same time you was giving it to him too. Like talk about that game.
Man, that game was crazy because Westbrook didn't get to play that game, and you knew Durant was gonna take all the shots. And I played with them in preseason in Oklahoma City, so I knew them. They knew of me. You know what I mean? They ain't like we was best friends, but I was with them in training camp, and we used to go to church together in Oklahoma City. So Westbrook was talking trash on the sideline, and so he was talking and I was talking because we had already talked in OKC. They knew I was a trash talker. So Durant, me not playing and that being the first game, he was being disrespectful, trying to dare me, thinking, oh, you're going to come out the game. So I had to pick and choose my poison. So a couple times he went under the screen and I had to shoot the mid-range, and when I got in the game, it was bad because he was already cooking. He already had like 20 when I got in the game. And so Gordon Hayward was in foul trouble. So then all of a sudden it was like, hey, go guard KD. Like, like what? Like, man, you got, you just threw me in the fire, man. So at halftime, he got like 20 something and I got 3 fouls. And so I'm arguing with the ref over one of the calls. And he like, man, I went and looked, it wasn't foul. And he was like, just, keep playing hard. In the second half, he going off again, man, but I'm able to limit his makes just by being a little bit more physical. I didn't stop him, but I calmed down what he had going in that fourth quarter, So at the end, I ended up fouling out. So we ended up going to overtime, and I fouled out. And I remember they were saying, the commentators, like, we don't know what they're going to do to guard Durant because Harris was doing a really good job. I got one foul, ran through Derek Fisher because I felt like he was setting illegal screens. And I shouldn't have did that at that time. That wasn't mentally smart having 3 fouls, picking up that cheap fourth one, especially ended up fouling out. But I felt like at that time I was sending a message. And, man, I mean, it was just competitive the whole way through. And he ended up getting another 10 or 11 or something in overtime. And that made me mad because he finished with like 45, which is bad. But the time, that's why I didn't want to say the 11. But the time I was on him, he took a sheet. He gonna get all the shots. You can't stop him. He's a great scorer. He's even better now than he was then because now it's 30 points on fewer attempts. Then he was just a volume shooter. He just knew he could shoot 25, 30 shots, and it didn't matter. Now he's more precise. But I limited his makes by just making it a little bit more difficult and physical before the catch. You knew every play was going for him, so I just tried to make it tough. You know what I mean? So for me, man, it was a great game in the opening, and ultimately I thought it was going to create something different because that game I played so well, and all the coaches were like, "Hey, man, look, we hope you can do that every night." I was like, "If I get the minutes, I can." And then after that, the next game I don't play. I go in like the last 2 minutes.
Politics of the league, man.
And that part, that political part, after that, it kind of went like that up and down all season. And, some of the guys weren't playing well. And if I step in as somebody who got signed at the end of the, training camp, it overshadows what they're trying to do, you know, and at that time they were trying to get a payday. And so that's the politics and stuff that happens in the league sometimes that you can't control. So for me, ultimately after that, once they released me, it was go back over here and go play. You know, get back out here instead of playing, you know, 6, 7, 8 minutes. Let me get back out here and play this 40 minutes. Now let me keep talking trash, but now I can give you a 40 ball.
Yeah.
You know, so
So
you better watch out.
so you know,
John, real quick before you start.
okay.
With John being the agent and Mike, you being played in the NBA, still playing pro basketball, for someone like me, before I got to talk to y'all about it, for those that's just watching, most people just think if you can play basketball, you get to the NBA, you just gonna play. People don't understand the politics of it. Like, so can y'all, because both of y'all have witnessed it and seen it and dealt with it, can y'all kind of talk about the politics? It's not just you can play basketball and you just gonna go play if you can play. Like, it's different politics, like, as far as contracts and people who they're trying to get here and there and this thing, that type of thing and the other. It's not just about skill level when it comes to getting to the NBA.
No, man. Sometimes the NBA is about relationships. It's not necessarily the best fit sometimes. Like, you could be the best person for the job, but somebody else could have had a connection, or maybe their agent is in with the team. So maybe it's a favor for a favor. Like, I got selected in Utah. That was a time where I got selected because of how hard I worked.
Mm-hmm.
All the other guys played in training camp, and they played well. I actually thought Lester Hudson was going to make it because he was killing. He was on another level that year when he played. And he played in a lot of games, but he balled out of control. And it's one of them things where you think that you really can't control it. The only thing you can control is how hard you play and the processing that you do with the speed of the game, because it's different. They tell you stuff, you got to remember it. If they tell you a play, let the first group mess up. You don't mess up, you watch it. When you coming in on that second team, you're coming in or if you want a first round draft pick, you're coming in basically to fit. So you got to find your role. So don't come in thinking that you're a star just because you was a star at college. And I think some people, they're on that high horse until they realize, like, look, we don't need you. We can find somebody else. So just because you 6'7" and you extremely athletic, I can go find 10 of them.
Yeah.
But you are you going to be extremely athletic and listen and play your role and work your way up? It's a pecking order. Every team's got a star. Most teams have 2 stars. So what role can you fulfill that's going to allow you to be on this team and get some minutes and possibly be a star later? It's a waiting game. Unless you that guy that's going on that worst team, and they don't have nobody, and it's your time to fill in, or you somebody that's supposed to be chosen, like a Zion or a LeBron. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. Like, people think that is extremely easy, and it's not. There's a select few every year that go to the NBA. More people go overseas than to the NBA every single year. So in that batch of people that continue to play in the D League and chase that dream, I respect them. But if you've been in the D League for 3, 4, 5 years and you possibly can be the next person on the logo on the sock, you probably need to go across the seas and make you some money, because it's gonna be an eye opener. I know a lot of people like to stay at home, and chase that dream, and I respect the NBA for creating it, but you can make 2, 3, sometimes 4 or 5 times the money you make in the D League, and lesser months overseas. It just come back and chase the dream later.
Yeah. So just to kind of touch on that, I always, coming into the game as an agent, I learned real quickly that it wasn't just about how good you were or how talented you were. And it was an eye-opening situation. I mean, I kind of knew that going in a little bit because of things that he went through, that Mike went through. But the favor for a favor thing was real big at that time, but that's starting to dwindle down now because people were doing favor for a favor, and players wasn't panning out. But I always tell my guys, you can only control what you can control. Go out there and play your hardest, do what you got to do, and everything else will work out for you, whether it's NBA, overseas, NBA, CBA, NBL, whatever. There's a lot of money to be made overseas. But like I always tell people, they always talk about how, oh, this dude's sorry because he don't get no game in the NBA. Well, most teams don't go past 7, 8 deep. If you outside of 7 to 8, it's gonna be tough to get them minutes. It's gonna be real tough to get the minutes, and I think that going in playing, knowing you're on a short leash, that's one thing I always gave Mike credit for, because every situation that he was put in, didn't nobody think he was gonna make the team in Utah. I can remember people talking about that. I remember when we went to summer league that one year. They said they just brought him in to, I think it was Utah. He said they just brought him in to to have a body. He was
I started there on a just the actual, like, it was just open gym, and they did the shooting test with everybody, and it was just open gym, and I was the most in shape out of everybody, and I ran. I was the person that was talking. I was vocal. Out there in pickup when, it's 5-on-5 and everybody trying to get buckets. All they did was run open gym and see who out there wasn't being selfish, who was trying to be a team player,
Yeah. So the thing is, man, the agent game and the player game is very similar. I don't promise guys a lot of things, but what I do tell them is that we'll turn over every single stone for you. If you do your part, we're gonna get something. But then I also tell them about the politics, because the politics is the biggest thing, man. I mean, just think about Mike's runs with the Rockets. He damn near averaged a double-double in a 22-game winning streak, where it got to a point where Tracy McGrady was like, that's all we need is Mike. Don't go out and sign nobody else. Don't do this shit. Just give me Mike. What else do you want from a guy? And it's all that thing. It's that whole situation where you got something that's consistent, you got something solid, but then you've made a mistake somewhere along the way in contracts. I remember when he was in the NBA, how all those teams was loaded at his position, at that 3-4 position. Everybody had 4 or 5 3-4s on your team. You don't need that many fucking 3-4s on your team. Why? But then it comes to the fact that you sign a dude for this money, and you in the NBA contracts they're guaranteed. Once you get that 2 or 3 year deal, you got so much money guaranteed. So now GMs are scared to come back and say, well, fuck, I made a mistake. Let me cut this dude. Let me buy him out because he's not doing what I thought he was going to do, and let me sign a guy like Mike or like the Lester Hudsons or like the Darius Adams and guys like that. Nobody wants to say they made a mistake.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing in the game, because even in Utah, they ended up letting Mike go for a guy they was paying $10 million to sit screens. I mean,
that's definitely gonna be another episode right there. Hey man, I'm loving this thing, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. You're gonna have to have me on here again, man. I had too much fiber in my system right now.
I'm about to cut this shit out, man.
Hey, bro, it's the podcast. We're supposed to be honest. Yo, man, I'm telling you, I'm outside and I'm holding it, man. And Nyla looking at me, bro. I gotta go get to the restroom, man.
All right, brother. We're gonna double back with part 3.
Yeah, please do, man. Y'all let me know when. We can tomorrow, whenever y'all available. Let me know.
All right, got you, bro.
All right, appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so what we're going to do, we're going to double back, grab Mike on, probably so part 3. The one thing that we want to talk about on part 3 is we never got a chance to really just get into his championship run. So
yeah, the championships.
We
what
had
do you think
6
about
championships.
The game now? The state of the game now versus the game that we grew up watching. You know what I mean? Because I mean, this shit crazy, man. Like just sitting here listening to all that and knowing knowing that Mike should have been a
Just FYI, we still recording, John.
oh shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah, like
Damn, my bad.
no, you good. It's a podcast. But this is how our podcast gonna go. Like we're not perfectionists. It's the first time dropping a podcast, the video podcast where we're doing sports music and other shit. Like, I mean, it's gonna be a wild animal. We're not trying to make this thing this big old production where we're trying to make everything all neat, fold, and tight. Like, nah, like we everyday people. Just like everyday people gonna watch our podcast. You know, we ain't got no big production. Shit ain't gonna go like perfectly every time. We're not gonna cut. We're not gonna edit. What you see is what you get. Like we real everyday people. You know what I'm saying? Like just like Mike's a real everyday person. Like you see certain things happen. Like you know what I'm saying? Like motherfuckers got to move and do things, and might have to cut out, and we have to come back to part 3. I think what we got so far is great because I think we cover really. I think we covered really what we wanted to cover. Like, you know what I mean? Like he gonna highlight the championships on the next episode. But like I think we got the part, you know what I'm saying? Like people can relate and understand who Mike is. And honestly, for me personally, I think I want to do this episode. I wanted to do it for Hillsboro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to do it for the people growing up. I wanted to do it for the people who knew Mike and may have lost track of Mike, didn't know what Mike did or where Mike went or what Mike you might see post every now and again. If people from the outside world, outside of Hillsboro, come and see it and understand it and like it, that's great. But I feel like this podcast right here was strictly for Hilltop. You know what I'm saying? People know Mike. You know what I'm saying? They grew up with Mike, but may have not kept up with him over the long term. To see what he's done. I think the kid's done remarkable things. I keep calling him a kid, young man, because shit. I graduated before he did. I'm older than he is, so I just kind of look at him. He's John's younger cousin. So when we was running around Hillsboro, like he was a youngster.
Yeah, and the thing is too, man. I always go back to that Jay-Z line. Show him how to move in a room full of vultures. And he's one guy. If you're trying to do anything sports oriented, he can show you how to move in that room because he's faced some tough situations. With like he talked about being cut and stuff like that. Like everybody can't bounce back from those situations. So it's definitely good to have somebody like that, especially coming up from a small town. There's so many kids out there in small towns who don't know how to go about it. I mean, and I say that because I was one of them. I didn't know how to go about it. So if I knew what I knew now, then obviously it's the old cliche, as Coach Smith used to say. But it'd be a different ball game. So doing it for the Hilltop for sure, and anybody coming from a small town or maybe even a big town that just don't know where to go, how to figure it out. It's a lot of shit out there that people don't know because it's available to them, but it's only available through certain avenues. If you don't have nobody directly connected into that shit, then you'll never know. Every day I got people on LinkedIn asking me how to become an agent. What did you do? How did you do it? What's your route? I got players thinking they can go to fucking junior college and come and go pro after they played one season of junior college. Now, I do know some guys who did that shit, that went to junior college and went pro, but they were exceptional. They were 6'8". They were studs. If you ain't got no tape out there, man, you don't exist. And that's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
And that's really the deal. And nowadays it's getting to the point overseas where those jobs are becoming smaller. When I say smaller, I mean like the opportunities. It's not as many opportunities because you got guys from the NBA that's phasing themselves out of the NBA that's going overseas because
that money.
The money is bigger. Then you also got the situation to where that the markets, they recycle the same players. And that's one thing that I always tell guys, like, you got to figure it out because these markets are going to recycle the same players over and over. For the last 10 years in China, since I've been going to China, before I was agent, they've been having the same players in China, these same players all the time. And that's not a knock on the players nor the league. Actually, I think it's a testament to the players because they play so well and they do
consistent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Nobody wants to go outside the norm. Okay, so Lester Hudson played for Liaoning for years. And then this year Liaoning decided to release him and get Lance Stevenson. And so that Lester Hudson ends up signing with another team. But just because that team don't sign you that you've been with, some other team is going to pick you up. But it's usually the same core of players. And you got to think about the hierarchy of that stuff. So first of all, you got your players that go to NBA training camp, get released from training camp, right? You got those guys. You got the guys who perform well in college who didn't get to an NBA training camp. You got the guys that went to Portsmouth and all these other tournaments, NBA Combine, whatever the case may be. You got those guys too. Then you got the guys who've been playing in these leagues. Okay, so if you a guy that went to junior college, like, man, honestly, I've had teams tell me they don't even want to look at certain players.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, why would you want to look at certain players? Oh, because he played at this school, small school. You know what I mean? They'll find there's enough things out there about you that they can say negatively. So you need to have the least amount of deficiencies about yourself in your game, where you went to school at. And like Mike said earlier, it is getting better where you can go to a mid-major or something like that. But, you know, when you go to an NIAA school, your route going to be difficult.
It's going to be a long route.
You're going to have to be a freak of nature that just didn't do what they were supposed to do when it was time to do it and end up having to go to that school. Outside of that, it's not happening. I always talk about the Matt Barnes story. They brought Matt Barnes in to a workout one time. He had been to several workouts. So they brought him in and ran the shit out of him and told him make this free throw. He missed it. They cut it.
Crazy.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I got so many stories I could tell you about guys in the NBA, the GM, the ownership, all of that. You know, Mark Cuban throwing a dart at a board because he didn't know he had a pick, and that's how he decided to pick somebody in the first round, low first round pick.
That's crazy.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's a business, man, but you gotta have that training, man. So for the people out there that want to make this they deal, they need to align themselves with people who know somebody's gonna give you some free game. Like, I don't mind giving free game. I've learned a lot from sitting on the outside watching to when I first got in, talking to Tony being my mentor, the whole 9 yards. I've learned so much. And there's still so much to know. Like, I always say, I want to have a conversation with Rich Paul. I missed the opportunity because I didn't seize the moment. You know what I mean? So you got to seize all those moments that you have, man. And if you don't, then it's for naught. Like, act like you're supposed to be here. You know, that's one thing I've always tried to do. Like, I like to walk in the room, and I don't care who's in there. I might not know nobody, but I'm gonna know several people when I leave that room. You know, and that's just how I've always based the situation. But man, the sports game is crazy. A lot of politics. If you're the best player, that don't mean you getting on the floor. And that's really it, man. Like,
just how it is.
I mean, it's crazy.
So we're going to sign out, everybody. Sports music and other shit. Episode 1 in the books. It's part 1 and part 2. Depending on how we cut the tape, it may just be part 1.
We'll let this go for the run.
depending on how we cut the tape. But yeah, man, look forward to us dropping more episodes. We got some things lined up, things that's happening right now. I think people will enjoy it. I think coming from a standpoint in which we ask our questions and where we view life, I think this podcast will pop off. Either you like it, you don't, you don't. Hey, we at a stage in our lives where you can like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Hey, we gonna keep moving regardless.
Exactly.
So, hey, sports music, other shit. I'm out. John.
I'm out of this thing, man.